Hello, my dear student. Welcome back to online class. Unit 2, Module 2, Theories of Economic Development. In this Theories of Economic Development, we are in the last part, fourth part of this unit. So, in earlier, you have studied about a classical theory of growth and development given by Adam Smith, David Ricardo, and Thomas Malthus, right? In their case, they visualize the economy entering to the stationary state. You know the meaning of stationary state. In earlier class, you studied about it, right? And that the basic approach and the framework for the classical economies is the same by three of them. The classical economics has explained the growth process in terms of rate of technological progress and the population growth, right? The growth process is taken into the technological progress and the population growth. In their opinion, technological progress remain in lead for the some time but eventually fall when a fall in the profit rate prevent further accumulation of capital. So it prevent the further accumulation of capital. So it is as this stage that the economy fall into the stage of state of stagnation. The main component of classical theory is that a production function, technological progress, investment, and the determinants of profit, size of the labor force, and the wage system. Let us study about these one by one, right? The first one is laissez-faire policy. What is the meaning of laissez-faire policy? Earlier you studied laissez-faire means no intervention of government in the economic activity. So classical economists believe in the existence of automatic free market. They believe the automatic adjustment of the economic system. You know the market force, right? What are the market force? Demand and supply. These two are the they automatically correct the economic system. So free market, perfectly competitive economy, which the free from the all type of government intervention. There is no intervention of government in the economic activity. Any imbalance done in the economic activity, it can be corrected by the market force, that is demand and supply. So it is the invisible hand which maximizes the national wealth. So these are the market force, these are the invisible hand which maximize the national wealth. And in they explained about production function. So Smith, Ricardo and Malthus all postulates the identical production function which can be written as y is equal to function of KLNS, land, labor, capital and organization, which means that output depend upon the stock of capital, labor force, land and level of technology. The output depends on stock of capital, labor force, land, and the level of technology. In generalized classical growth model, land is taken as the supply of known and economically useful resources. So land is a main resources that are the supply of known and economical useful resource. And this seems like the right thing to do, as it is not the amount of cultivable land and its fertility that determines the national output, but the total supply of known and usable natural resources. These are the production function given by Adam Smith, David Ricardo and the Malthus. And next, technological progress and its constraints, its limitation. The most classical economists believe that the main constraint to technological progress is capital accumulation. So main limitation is that a capital accumulation. According to them, technological progress could not be assumed to be completely independent factor. You know, according to them, a technological progress is not assumed as a completely independent factor. In their opinion, technological progress is the capital observing. Technological progress is what? A capital observing, and therefore capital accumulation is a prerequisite for a steady advance of technology. So these are the capital accumulation is a prerequisite for a advanced technology, steady advanced technology. For this capital accumulation, they stressed on savings and investment as a primary factor. So the classical economist stressed on for the capital accumulation, they've given a more importance to savings and investment. You know, who the one who save, the one who invest in the economy, they are a capitalist or the landlords, right? The capital accumulation as a key to progress. What do you mean by a capital accumulation as a key to progress? All the classical economists regard the capital accumulation as a key to economic progress. So main thing is capital accumulation is a key to economic progress. So therefore they'll emphasize on the large saving. So given a main importance to large saving, more and more savings on the economic activity. You know, only the capitalist and the landlords are capable to save. Why? They are receiving, they are investing, and they are receiving a profit. On that, they invest that money into the economic activity, right? The workers are not capable to save or investment. Why? They are receiving subsistence wage, so they are not able to invest or the save more. So for capital accumulation, there is a only capitalist and the landlords are capable to save in the economy. And another one, profit induced investment. What is that? According to classical economist, profit induced investment. The larger the profit, the greater will be the capital accumulation and the investment. In earlier class, we studied in this topic. If the profit is more, if the larger the profit, then there will be a greater will be the capital accumulation and investment. By studying the many theories of classical economics, it is possible to identify two main factors of determining the level of profit in the system. There is a two main factor of determinant. What are they? The one is supply of labor force, which is dependent on population growth, right? The supply of labor force is dependent on the population growth. If the population growth is more, there will be a greater supply of labor. If the population growth is less, there will be a less supply of labor. So, the level of profit are dependent on two factors, that is supply of labor and another one is technological progress. And regarding labor force, population growth and the labor supply have been explained in terms of iron law of wages. You studied about iron law of wages. They believed that it is the size of wage fund which decide the rate of population growth. What it means? If the wage fund is more, the working class can enjoy a lot of benefit, so population growth tends to increase. When the wage fund is decreased, the population growth tends to decrease. There is a positive relationship between wage fund as well as population growth, right? So when the wage fund wage fund grows, when the wage fund increase, it leads to temporary rise of wages level above the subsistence level. So when the wage fund increase, it leads to temporary rise of wage level above the subsistence level. So this gives a incentives to boost the population growth. As a wage increase above the subsistence level, it boosts the economy. If it boosts the population growth, which increase the supply of labor and bringing the wage level to the subsistence level again. When the wage fund increases, it boosts the population growth also, right? As population growth increases, there will be a larger supply of labor. So when it leads to an increase of supply of labor, then it tends to decrease a wage. So it reaches the subsistence level. This is a relationship between wage fund as well as population growth. This gives in subsistence level. Even now, this theory seems to provide a satisfactory description of pleasant society in the third world countries. And regarding tendency of profits to decline, profit do not increase continuously, right? The profit does not increase continuously. They tend to decline when the competition increases. When the competition increases, the profit tend to declines for the larger capital accumulation among the capitalists. The reason, according to Smith, is increasing in wage due to competition among the capitalists. The reason, Adam Smith given the reason why the profit declines. When the increase in the wage due to competition among the capitalists, whereas according to David Ricardo, when the wage and rent rise with the increase in the price of corn, the profit declines. According to Ricardo, when the wage and rent rise with the increase in the price of corn, the profit will decreases. And regarding stationary state, all classical economists visualized the stationary state as tend to as the end of process of capital accumulation. When there is existence of stationary state, there will be a end of capital accumulation. When one's profit starts declining, when the profit start declining, this process continues till the profit becomes zero. When the profit starts declining, this process continues till the profit becomes zero. Population and the capital accumulation stop increasing and the wage rate reaches to the subsistence level. This means when the profit is decreasing, this process is decreasing till the profit become zero. And the population and capital accumulation stopped increasing, right? Due to decrease in the profit, the wage rate reaches to the subsistence level. According to Smith, it is scarcity of the natural resources that finally hinders the growth and leads to economy to the stationary state. So, our Malthus established a unique correlation between population growth as well as food supply. In earlier class, you studied about a population theory given by Thomas Robert Malthus, right? So, according to him, he is famous for his doctorate. Population multiplies in geometric ratio and food grains multiplies in arithmetic ratio. So, what is the meaning? A population multiplies in geometric ratio. It is like 2, 4, 8, like this. As food grain increases in arithmetic ratio 1, 2, 3, 4. So, these are the correlation between the population growth and food supply. According to him, If the growth of population left free, it would outrun the growth of the capital and hence means of subsistence. So both Ricardo and Malthus opinion that growing population and the declining growth of capital through the operation of law of diminishing returns as ultimate checks to economic development. The same view is expressed by J.S. Mill, who pointed out that in the absence of technical improvement in the agriculture and the growth rate of population being higher than the capital accumulation, the rate of profit starts to decline and the capital and the economy ultimately reaches the stationary state. So, according to Mill, in the absence of technological improvement in agriculture, the growth rate of population being higher than the capital accumulation, the rate of profit starts declining and the economy ultimately reaches to the stationary state. It is a reason. However, the stationary state because it would leads to income distribution and the large remuneration for the laborers. So he also viewed that this is the only possibility by controlling the increase in the number of working population. According to him, this is the only possible to control the working class of the population or the working population, right? And there are some of the criticism. There are some of the critics who criticize the classical theory of development. Two relevant insights that become the evident for the classical theory of growth and stagnation are as follows. These are the theory underlies that there is a strong relationship between a performance of agriculture sector and the industrial growth, right? And the model points that key variable to the economic growth and the analysis of interdependence. So the model points to the key variable of economic growth and the analysis of their interdependence. And there is some of the main limitation in the classical theory of growth and stagnation. They neglect the entrepreneur. The classical economists knew the role of entrepreneur in the process of production. They know the importance of entrepreneur in the process of production. Yet they did not discuss about entrepreneur in the classical theory. They did not given a important positions to the entrepreneur in their system. So they neglect the entrepreneur. And second one is wrong assumption of falling rate of profit. Contrary to what the classical economists has envisioned, capital had become a important factor in the agriculture and is now increasing substituting land. This is preventing a fall in the rate of profit. So, a capital is preventing a fall in the rate of profit. Even in the industrial sector, growth caused by increasing return has prevented profit rate from falling. So, even in the industrial sector also, growth caused by the increasing returns has prevented profit rates from the declining. Hence, investment activities are not slowed down. So, uh, according to them, the investment activity not slow down. So, there is a wrong assumptions of falling rate of profit given by the classical economist and ignore the middle class. The whole classical analysis was based on the socio-economic environment prevailing in the Britain and certain part of Europe. So, social economic environment which prevailing in the Great Britain and also some of in the place of Europe. It assumes the existence of rigid divisions of the society between capitalists and laborers, right? There is a division, that is land capitalist and laborers. They neglect the role of middle class, which provide a necessary input to the economic growth. So they given and they stressed more on capitalist and laborers, but they neglect the middle class people who given the to the economic growth. And fourth one neglects the public sector. They did not concentrate much on the public sector. To the classical economists, perfect competition and institution of private property were the essential to prerequisites for the economic growth. Only the perfect competition and the private property are the main factors to the economic development. They, however, failed to realize the important role which the public sector has assumed in the accelerating in the capital accumulation in recent years. So they did not concentrated much on, they did not given a importance to the public sector or the government, which assumed in the accelerating capital accumulation in a recent year. So they totally neglect the public sector as they are following the laissez-faire. In that policy, there is no intervention of government in the economic activity. For that reason, they neglect the public sector. And fifth one, less importance of technology. The classical theory of economic growth failed to visualize the import, important impact the science and technology had on the rapid economic development for the new developed nation. So, by the classical economists, they don't concentrate much on the science and technology, but which given the rapid economic growth or the development in the new developed nations. And sixth one is unrealistic loss. The classical theory of economic development is based on the assumption of Ricardian concept of operation law of diminishing returns. So they believed on law of diminishing returns in the production process and Malthusian concept of population growth. However, both law are unrealistic in the present context. According to Ricardian David Ricardo, he more concentrated and he believed in the law of diminishing returns. And when come to Malthusian theory, he concentrated much on the population growth. In real world, in realistic, these two laws are unrealistic. They are not real. And unrealistic growth progress. Unrealistic growth process. The classical theory assumes a stationary state in which growth takes place in steady and continuous process like a tree. However, this explanation of the growth process is not true. Economic growth as it understood today does not proceed a steadily and continuous, but they fit and starts. So the classical theory assumes the stationary state which growth takes place in the steady and continuous process like a tree, but it in real it is not so. It is not continuous. It is not a steady process. So unrealistic growth process, they given a wrong unrealistic growth process. So by this we studied about Adam Smith, David Ricardo, and Thomas Malthus classical theory of growth and development, and in general classical theory of economic growth and criticisms of a classical theory and also a limitation of the classical theory. By this we completed a fourth part of this chapter. Thank you.